Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bituation Room podcast live stream show thing. Habit. Welcome. We have an amazing show for you today. Taylor Lorenz is here for the very first time. The author of User Mag on Substack that everyone should be subscribed to. Truly some of the most important and also off the beaten internet stories that I absolutely love. I'm going to just recenter myself here. As well as labor reporter and author Kim Kelly is back on the show. We're going to talk about Trump's wildly anti-union moves and what they mean for the labor movement going forward, what they mean for any union members who thought maybe Trump would be good. We're going to get into that in a little bit with Taylor. We are going to be talking about her new reporting on how AI-generated smear campaigns are getting students fired or expelled. So it's not only that, State Department is rounding students up. It's not only that universities are rolling over and allowing ICE to round up their students. It is that they are falling for straight up robot Hezbollah and using that as a pretense to fire their students without any evidence, without any cause. So we're going to talk about that in just a little bit, in addition to some Elon baby mama drama. It's always fun to look back and look at the fun side. There's a fun side of Elon a little bit, even though he's trying to buy a Supreme Court seat in Wisconsin right now. But if you're here, you know what to do. If you are new here, let me explain. This is the moment where you palm your keypad. Here's what you do. We're clicking the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. We're clicking the like button if you haven't liked. We're clicking the bell so that you know whenever we go live, you just get a little ping to your inbox. Like, okay, hey, I'm eating lunch. Let's hang for a little bit. If you're listening as a podcast, this is a beautiful way to listen and enjoy the show. I would urge you to give the podcast 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, whatever it is. It helps people discover the show. Write a review if you feel so inclined, if you feel so supportive. It really does go a long way. There's many announcements, so stick with me for a little bit. But I did want to say that Matt Lieb and I, my husband, we will be doing live stand-up comedy. Well, first of all, my monthly show, New World Disorder, happens. It is happening again in April. April 23rd, that's a Wednesday. Gareth Reynolds of the Dollop Podcast, as well as Aparna Nancherla, is going to be on the show. So excited to have them. And then in San Francisco on May 7th, that is a Wednesday at 7 p.m., Matt Lieb and I are co-headlining Cobb's Comedy. So get your tickets, come out, francescafiorentini.com or wherever you are looking at this right now. I wanted to also explain that this is actually just one piece of the Bituation Room. There are 2 other pieces. There is a Wednesday show. There's a Friday show. They both stream for free, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. But in order to get access to the Wednesday show, our bonus episode, to listen back to it, to get a special little RSS feed, to get access to all of the perks of being a patron of this show, sign up. Patreon.com/Bituation Room is where you go to do that. You get discounts on our merch, 20% off our union made. That's right, 100% union made merch. I'm looking into very cute hats very, very soon. 20% off that. You get access to our AMAs. And again, you get access to all of the back catalog of episodes of the bonus Bish, which streams on Wednesdays. You can also become a member on YouTube. Not as many perks, not as much access to our little behind the scenes chats, suggestions for upcoming guests, good reading lists and all that. But it is absolutely welcomed. Nevertheless. And before I dig into what I am bitching about, let us just all together wish our wonderful producer Paige a happy birthday. Even if it's not her birthday anymore, it is her birthday. So with that, let's jump in to what are you bitching about? So many of you maybe are new here. Maybe you're new subscribers, or maybe you're new patrons. You'll get that shout out during the fart song if you're a patron at $10 or more. But I just wanted to announce some pretty exciting news. I recently got a call from Cenk Uygur, and he apologized. He said that he was wrong about removing me from the TYT network. He said that honestly, he misread the moment when it came to going on Dr. Phil's platform, on Charlie Kirk's conference, on the PBD podcast, and talking about how, some extremists on the left are the reason the Democrats lose. And he invited me back on the show whenever I wanted. He said we were going to have I think his words were robust debate, and actually talk about our differences, whether it's on police or homelessness, or whether Rick Caruso is a good candidate for LA city mayor. He's not. Trans athletes, and he invited me on. And so it looks like all of this has been for nothing. And so I'm back, and I'm really, really happy to announce that. And April fucking Fools, y'all. None of that is true. None of that is true. I am still banned from TYT. People who have just started following this show and people who don't care about this drama, let us address both of you. Many of you might have followed me from TYT. Many of you might have followed me from Newsbroke, from AJ Plus, from National Geographic, from MSNBC, from, the Daily Zeitgeist, from any of the other places that I frequent. But again, 9 years working with TYT, and just removed as a contributor for some of my critiques of Cenk and Anna's rightward pivot. And then, yes, calling Cenk, saying that he acted like a bitch when he went on the Jillian Michaels show to whine about me. And I want to just say that if you are not up to date on all the drums and you want to be, you can watch my interview with Cenk on my YouTube channel. You can also listen to it as a podcast. If you are not up to date on what this so-called rightward pivot is, I encourage you to go to the Vanguard YouTube show. They do an incredible job of making sure that someone is watching some of the BS takes that come out of that place. And they do a pretty good job. I don't agree with everything that they say, obviously. And I'm trying to be very cordial and couth in my response. But they say things out loud that privately I say to myself. So you can go watch them. You can watch some of, their honestly watchdogness. If you're like, I don't see a problem. What's been going on? Why can't everyone just get along? So there's that. But I will just say there are so many new subscribers. I am overwhelmed with the amount of support and solidarity and love. And I feel like, if this is the first time you're hearing some of these critiques against TYT, I know it sucks, but if you're first time hearing someone say it out loud and you've been feeling crazy, bienvenidos. And I am very excited to have you. This is a show that really has been around since 2020 in earnest. So 5 years now. The beloved page has been with us for over 3 years. And this is not a news show. This is not a news replacement show. This is a place for analysis and hopefully some laughs. I like to put comedians on, as well as experts, activists, journalists. It is a decidedly left show. I'm not trying to play to the center or pretend I am not what I am. It's a show where I hope we can have a little bit of fun. We can make fun of the powerful. We can mock them. And so I'm going to do my little in this house moment. So in this pod, we believe building a future for all and a democracy for all. That one's kind of corny. Demilitarizing our lives, kicking corporate power to the curb, and making Cardi B Czarina, as well as stringing the testicles of predators up like Christmas lights. That is what we believe in this house. Obviously, trans rights are human rights in all respects. And yes, I don't care if you disagree with me. defund the police today, tomorrow, and always. And I hope to earn that from you as I prove it show after show after show. But thank you so much for finding this show. Thank you so much for being here. I, again, have people who I think are funnier than me and smarter than me. I like to learn from them. I like to change because of the knowledge that I've gained on this show. And if I can encourage you to do anything, it's to expand your media diet, support a number of independent journalists like the ones we're going to have on today, who really, it is hard to be a journalist, an actual journalist, in the year 2025. And it is weird, I know, to pull your money out of cable or pull your money out of, a newspaper and send it to someone on Substack. But it really can make the difference from someone surviving on this work or not. And I am included in that, even though I'm not a journalist, but I'm included that in that in terms of a little entertainer, a pundit, someone who can bring some of these people together. So just thank you. And with that, let's get on with the show. Before I do, my heart was pumping a little bit there because I didn't know I could lie to you guys about all that. Like in the beginning, doing the April 1st joke. And sometimes when I get nervous, I like to pop a little focus gummy. It's got lion's mane, cordyceps. I'm going to do this like Parker Posey from the White Lotus. It's a tsunami of CBD. And I really encourage you all to support the people who've supported me. Again, if you're a patron, you also get ad-free content, except for this. This is for everybody, but you get 25% off. Everybody else, 20% off your order at Sunset Lake CBD. I referenced the Focus Gummies. They really, really work. They're lovely. Again, lion's mane, cordyceps. Lion's mane actually helps you go to sleep at night. But if you need help going to sleep, they've got good night gummies that have melatonin, CBD, CBN. So again, sunsetlakecbd.com, coupon code FRANTIFA, FRANTIFA, for 20% off your order. Thank you so much for their support. And now let me bring our girl in. She is the host of the podcast Power User and the founder of usermag.co, a tech and online culture newsletter, and the author of Extremely Online, the untold story of fame, influence, and power on the internet. Oh my God, it's my biography. Please welcome Taylor Lorenz. Oops, sorry, Taylor. Come back. No. Okay, Paige, you do it. Hi. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
I have a YouTube channel too. That's my main thing now that I'm trying so hard, along with my Substack to.
Dude, welcome to the grind. I'm like, you do it all. You similar though, but like you do it all. And I truly encourage everyone to subscribe and support Taylor. And is your podcast, your YouTube is Power User, correct?
Yeah, my YouTube is just Taylor Lorenz. Power User is my podcast. And User Mag is my Substack. But I know I need to give them all the same name. But yeah, I'm just Taylor Lorenz on YouTube. Please watch, please subscribe.
Okay, fuck yeah, we'll put a link to it. Taylor, we start this show off in the same way, which is asking our guests, what are you bitching about? There's so many things, but what are you bitching about right now?
God. Well, I've spent literally the past 72 hours in a fugue state because this law passed in Utah that is claiming to protect child influencers. That's not what it does. That's not what it does, okay? It's a free speech law. It's a censorship bill. It is going to be used to censor all content creators, journalists, documentarians in the state. It is an incredibly poorly written, irresponsible, ridiculous law in line with all of these other laws that we're seeing the government try to pass to protect children. None of them are about protecting children. It's all about censorship and passing things like age verification so that they can tie your offline identity to your online behavior, removing anonymity from the internet. But yeah, there's every single stupid headline. If you Google Utah influencer bill, you'll just see this breathless coverage from people that, by the way, I called the co-sponsor of the bill. I was like, can you explain this stuff? What does the bill say? He goes, I didn't write the bill. You should call a lawyer and have them explain. I don't know.
Oh boy.
You wrote the fucking bill. I don't know if I can curse. You wrote the
Yeah.
the freaking bill. And and it's a terrible, terrible, terrible bill. It doesn't do anything that it says. It doesn't regulate family vloggers. It regulates all content creators in the state. It strips agency away from minor content creators, and it doesn't even do what it claims to do. It's like the predication for all of this was this horrible case of Ruby Franke, who is a woman who abused her children and had a family vlogging channel. Guess what? She's indicted. She's sentenced to, I think it's like 15 years in prison or something. The only reason that we have that record of the abuse is her YouTube channel. And the only reason we know about that abuse is honestly these other journalists on YouTube documenting the abuse.
Interesting.
Under this new law, the journalists documenting the abuse are going to have their content potentially censored. And it's going to make it harder. So this doesn't protect anyone. And this idea, by the way, sorry, last thing. This idea that every child online is exploited is insane. The vast, 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 vast majority of content from children on the internet is legitimate speech from children. It's kids between the ages of 13 to 18 making their voices heard online. And that's what they really want to take away. And that's what these bills are about.
Right. I mean, that's sort of the entire premise behind a lot of like Republican driven, like protect children, all the anti-trans legislation.
It's Democrats. The Democrats are it's
oh, well, now you done burst my bubble. I can't, now that you've said something bad about Democrats, I don't know if you should come back on this show anymore. That's upsetting. Okay, well, so that's my question is who's behind it? Like who wants these kinds of bills, right?
Well,
is it the tech companies?
Yeah, well, tech companies don't care because the burden is 100% on users. It's silencing users' speech. So they don't even care. It's like how, Meta is like, yeah, good, age verification. That's going to be Apple's problem. We don't, no, I mean, like who's behind it? These terrible reactionary groups and these morons online that are just feeding a social panic by being like, oh my God, children are being exploited. Like, what are you even talking about?
So you're saying it could actually make children's safety worse?
It will. It only not in like all these things that these people say that they're against, which they're like, how dare parents, post their children online? It's like, okay, well, that's not illegal. Just to be clear, that's speech. And any law that you want to make, like this law has a takedown notice. When the child becomes 18, they can file to have content taken down if it causes them emotional harm, whatever the hell that means. Sorry, I keep cursing. I'm so mad.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's good.
So say they appear in a police video, in the background of a video about police violence. That content can be taken down. They can take down legitimate journalistic speech because it causes them emotional harm, which is a highly subjective term.
How do you think, Taylor, give us, like, if you were to craft this legislation, like what's the right way to do it?
Ruby Franke's behind bars. We didn't need a law. It's just this moral panic where people are like, child influencing is evil. It's like, you guys have never even talked to anyone that grew up on a family vlog. Let me tell you, I've talked to many people. 99% of them are completely like, they're not exploited.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like some of them are, yes. But guess, you know what? Another thing that's horrible, like, let me give you an example, what these laws don't solve. And by the way, one of the main girls that keeps testifying at all these state age influencer legislations, her mother embarrassed her for years on Facebook. It's actually horrible. She was definitely abused.
I think I read her story. Yes.
Horrible story. But the mom was not an influencer. The mom was just oversharing on Facebook.
That's right.
That's bad parenting. It's horrible.
Exactly.
But it's not. But it's like you can't legislate any speech. They want to control speech, and you have these dumbass Democrats and liberals and people that consider themselves progressive getting on board with it, thinking they're being feminist, like child should be paid for their labor. Sure, if it was just about payment, maybe, although there's all these weird payment things that end up chilling speech because under this law now, say you produce a documentary about a child that might be, I don't know, a teenage activist or someone like Greta Thunberg, right? Or maybe a school shooter, right? You make a 5-part YouTube series. Now you have to establish a trust and pay the subject of your reporting because they're a minor.
Right.
Which is just going to make it harder for journalists to do their job. Or say you want to cover high school sports and there's a star athlete that appears.
Sure.
Just the whole thing is like, it's not going to do what they think it's going to do.
Yeah.
So how would I fix this law? Crack down on actual abuse. We have
exactly expand child protection services to actually function the way they're supposed to function.
And by the way, you know what Utah just did? Like, it's just like, I want people to look at all the other laws that Utah has passed recently. Like, please look at them.
Fluoride.
Well, I didn't even know about the fluoride thing,
I
but
mean,
one big law.
about fluoride. I mean, there's going to be a lot of toothless child influencers, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff, it's like, that is not even on my radar. I'm just thinking of like the tech stuff. I mean, one thing that they did recently is, they banned all LGBTQ flags from schools. I'm sure that's going to
Amazing.
protect children. They passed an anti-DEI bill prohibiting any sort of diversity efforts. They're mandating that all smartphones and tablets have, I don't even know if I can say the word porn, but porn filtering software.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm going to get something I'm so scared of like
No, no,
demonetization
no.
now.
First of all,
But
you've already dropped a few F-bombs. It's
okay, I'm
fine. No, I'm kidding.
sorry.
No, no, it's all good. It's
It's
the
just none of
bitchuation
this.
room, girl.
Yeah, just none of this is going to protect children. And if
Good
you
thing.
think that's what these laws are about, you're an idiot, Rube. And if you're on TikTok being like, "Yay, they passed a social media influencer bill," it's not going to do anything. It's certainly not going to do the things that you think it's going to do.
Word.
So
Good thing to
stop.
bitch about. Stay tuned because I'm sure Taylor's going to be writing about this. Taylor, we have a segment. Feel free to jump in. I'm going to attempt some yolks. But it's called Orange Man Bad. It's a place to put most of the Trump news, all the things that have happened in the last week, and then just like drop it into the sea, except when we have to actually talk about him. So here we go. This is Orange Man Bad. All right. This week in Orange Man Bad, Orange Man said he's not ruling out a third term. NBC asked if he would let JD Vance run and then pass the office to him in another round of why the fuck are we putting ideas into his head? NBC, shut up. Orange Man's cabinet is simply doubling down on the signal use, the signal gate. Apparently, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz has many signal chats, and they involve high-level foreign policy discussions. And he also had a public Venmo, which had a lot of journalists in his contacts, allegedly. Like, these people use less discretion than I use when I pay for a bikini wax. That is private. We are now learning that the people that Orange Man has put into prison in El Salvador include a gay hairdresser and a Maryland father, which is very ironic considering how much MAGA desperately needs both hair and parenting advice. Utah is banning fluoride. Speaking of Utah, in their drinking water, something that HHS Secretary RFK Jr. agrees with. And I'm just going to say that's a lot of toothless Mormons trying to get me to join their cult. And finally, Tariff Day is upon us. Tomorrow, I believe, where reciprocal tariffs will fall on all countries and the stock markets will celebrate by dropping that ass to the flow, Oh, it is down there. It's really bad. And actually, finally, Orange Man is unveiling an app called Ice Raid that basically gamifies reporting undocumented people to ICE and rewarding them in crypto. And let me be the first to say, Elon will still be hiring someone to play it for him. And that has been Orange Man Bad. Anything else I missed, Taylor?
That's a lot. I didn't even know about some of that.
I know. I like how you're focused on the tech side of Utah, which is true. But like the fluoride is like, okay.
The fluoride stuff, I actually don't care about as much. I care about it, but I'll tell you something because I went through a whole fluoride arc myself like years ago.
Oh, a fluoride arc. I've never heard of a fluoride arc.
I had like a bunch of like tooth issues, and I like learned a lot about like remineralization of your teeth and how important it is. And by the way, I brush with not only do I brush with fluoride, I brush with like very generic toothpaste. That is one of the few toothpaste that remineralizes your teeth, but it's like made by Crest. But
I was gonna say Crest. I'm a pro enamel girl because I got enamel issues.
Oh yeah. But here's the thing, like I will say, according to my dentist, at least, who is a legit, not like a woo-woo maha dentist at all, is like we get so much fluoride. And if you use fluoride mouthwash, which I do use as well too, you really don't need it in the drinking water. The drinking water, as you mentioned, it's mostly to help people that don't get enough fluoride and they're not using the fluoride toothpaste and mouthwash. But I don't know. It's
I mean, how many people use mouthwash? I don't know. Like, first of all,
they brush
there
their
is some.
teeth. I mean, Yeah,
There's
I
some
get
study out of, I forgot which city, maybe Paige remembers, we looked at it, that did take the fluoride out, and it was, like, real bad, especially with
I saw
kids. It affects
that with
kids a
kids.
lot.
Yeah, I think that was in Canada, right? Maybe?
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was actually interested to, like, look into that. The fluoride I'm so interested in dentistry. There was this great Atlantic article years ago just about how, like, dentistry is, like, a total like, they don't know what they're doing half the time. All the so many
Sure.
things are unproven, and, like, I had an issue with, like, a root canal at one point where it was, like, causing a lot of things. So I think that, like, I'm not against it's not one of those things that I'm, like, so against if there's other measures. The problem is, like, they're just dismantling public health and, yeah, there's
Sure. If
no
that was the
it's
only thing they were doing, you'd be like, "Eh." But
I
yes,
feel like maybe there's other ways to, like, fix this problem, and I do have concerns about, like, chemicals in our drinking water and, like, what's safe, and, like, I filter my drinking water with a reverse osmosis thing anyway, so I'm probably not getting fluoride anyway, but yeah, it's stupid. I
reverse
mean, it's stupid.
osmosis. I haven't this is some West Hollywood shit. No.
Yes. Well, everybody should but here's the thing, like, I did a test on the water when I moved here. It's really and I don't live in
Well, the
WeHo.
LA water is
It's
awful.
terrible, and I always drank New York tap water my whole life growing up.
Oh, yeah.
And, I worked at a bagel shop, you boil it in the New York City like, but LA ta it's really bad, and
No,
so
it's disgusting. I grew up in the Bay. That's a hetchy up there. So yeah. Well, we could talk for a long time about water, but let's move on. There's more important reporting, including by yourself. Let's get into the week where. Okay, so this is the week where the State Department has openly announced its catch and revoke program that has been used to scan social media posts of either student visa holders or green card holders for so-called pro-Hamas sentiment. More than 400 foreign students have had their student visas revoked in the 3 weeks that Catch and Revoke has been in operation. There are 1.5 million student visa holders nationwide. Everyone is fair game, one official said. They are not publishing the data on who has been, whose visas have been revoked. But again, this is obviously, we saw the arrest of, the young Turkish PhD student at Tufts. Obviously Mahmoud Khalil, Ali Reza Durudi, I believe, an Iranian student at University of Alabama. I think Mamadou Tal, excuse me, just left the country, was not detained, but had to self-deport, which I really hate that terminology. But Taylor, you've been reporting on actually some of the not exactly what the State Department is using, but how even universities are using uh, other or being duped by certain things like an AI generated news website. This is from yourusermag.co. Yale University suspended a law school scholar after an AI generated news website claimed she was a member of a terrorist organization, and there is an update which she has been actually terminated from Yale Law School. And I wanted you to explain. Her name is Helye or Heli Dupagi. She's from Iran originally, and she had a whole response. But maybe you could just explain what the hell an AI generated smear campaign.
yeah, so there is this, website called Jewish Onliner that is very much not a legitimate news website. It is tied to Israeli intelligence and this, group, basically that has done a bunch of, it sort of purports to be a news organization, but it empowered by AI capabilities. But Haaretz, the Jewish or the Israeli newspaper, reported that it actually engages in a lot of bot activities and it has ties to Act.il, which is a Hasbara initiative that Israel funds to push disinformation. And so, yeah, there's this AI generated article about her that makes all of these insane claims and claims that she's tied to, this the Palestinian Prisoner Solidarity Network, which is a pro-Palestinian advocacy group, which they claim is terrorism, of course.
Sure,
And
right.
so they've basically they use, and she actually doesn't have ties to any like she's innocent of all of these things that they're claiming, of course, but just the implication is that she's, a Hamas supporter and all this stuff. And so she was punished from this AI generated news article that is completely untrue and is posted randomly. It's just clearly a smear campaign. And I've dealt with actually these tactics before, because there's a bunch of weird AI generated articles about myself. As well. And, it was called, what is that terrible
Stop Anti-Semitism?
Stop Anti-Semitism went through all, they went to the Washington Post and sent all of these. It was this whole campaign. It was like, Taylor's anti-Semitic because she criticized Israel and all this stuff. So, and they were using a lot of these AI generated articles. So
and how did Washington Post deal with that? I mean, what happened?
I don't even want to get into it, but okay. I think people can.
I mean, we know you left, but I'm just like,
I left. I left. This was before. This was before,
but I'm assuming it was a struggle to get them to not take this.
They didn't have any idea. They don't have any idea of how this stuff works. I don't think most people that run newsrooms can even tell what's an AI generated website,
which is wild because they're actually running legitimate websites, right?
No, they have absolutely no ability to even remotely understand these campaigns. My editor did. Mark Seibel, shout out, the best editor I ever had at the Washington Post for years. He retired in June. And once he retired, he couldn't explain these things to me. Like I worked remotely. So I would just file my stories from LA, but he was the one that would explain okay, here's why Taylor is getting all of this stuff. Here's what this account really is. This account, it actually isn't about this. And he left last June, which is ultimately what made me want to go independent, because I can't do the work that I do with an organization that doesn't understand and recognize bad faith campaigns. So
I was actually part of a question I wanted to ask you, but I feel like it really does fit in this, because it shows you just how ill-equipped not just news organizations, but these, elite institutions, universities are when it comes to dealing with real misinformation, disinformation, whatever, literal fake news.
Well, a lot of them print literal fake news. Just to be clear, they're printing the propaganda, right? Exactly. The New York Times is printing the propaganda. I was told at one news organization that I worked at that Israel is our ally. And
what? Okay. Who's that's so
not my ally.
Yeah, exactly. How many people do they know there are Muslims who are employed by this organization?
Well, increasingly there aren't Muslims employed in these major newsrooms, and they certainly don't have any sort of voice or leadership. So I mean, there's always been this double standard. Right. And they won't let a Palestinian cover Palestine, but they'll let a former IDF soldier write propaganda. The whole thing is such a farce
that they've still yet to apologize for, in terms of the what screams without words.
Oh, that's the goal, right? But that's the goal, is to lie. The goal is to mislead people. I mean, it's funny because I grew up, I'm sure you did, but the Iraq war was such a big thing when I was growing up, and obviously was very against it. And I remember that the news would lie. And so I always sort of thought, well, they're just liars. And then when I started to work at these places in the 2010s, I was like, maybe they're good. Yeah. And then it's 2020 hit. And I was like, oh no, they're no.
Yeah. No, they don't. They are more concerned about power and access. I just want to go back to Heli. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this. I want to say Heli just because it's Severancy, but Hele. It's a Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right either, but so she was targeted by one of these disinformation campaigns, and Yale took it seriously. Before she was fired, she actually posted publicly her response, which you might have seen.
I wanted to read that actually just to you. I mean, it's long, but she says, look, I'm a scholar who stands unequivocally against imperialism, the U.S. Zionist genocide, but my presence, particularly as a Muslim Iranian woman at an elite university that is deeply entangled in the material and ideological structures of genocide, is intolerable to the forces of fascism that are ruling this country. The attacks against me, including defamatory smears amped up by fascist trolls, are emblematic of a broader official policy of this authoritarian regime to weaponize AI to target students, faculty, and organizers who dare speak out against genocide, systemic starvation, ethnic cleansing, and Palestinians. It's now formalized under the recent Catch and Revoke initiative and marks a dangerous escalation in state repression, one designed to foster an atmosphere of fear, on and on and on and on. It's a Zionist McCarthyism. She goes on. It's not a display of strength. It's a last refuge of a crumbling order. I mean, it's so, incredibly written. But she also says, this is a bad faith process. It became evident from the administration's insistence on an immediate interrogation with an unreasonable timeline from a type of attorney hired to, quote, interview me, from the fact that this outside counsel refused to answer questions about procedural protections, and from the denial of my request for a brief religious accommodation. We all know it's been, Ramadan and Eid just recently. While Yale Law School's singular concern with maintaining the approval of the Zionist backers who bankroll their complicity in genocide led the organization to pressure me into an interrogation that I had every reason to believe was designed not to uncover the truth, but to justify a predetermined outcome. For further details from my lawyer, see his note at the end of this statement. And then she basically says, this is retaliation, but also Yale has deep financial ties to weapons manufacturers. Using publicly available tax filings, the university's assets managers include JLL Partners linked to General Dynamics, Lockheed Martin, Farallon Capital, which invests in Howmet Aerospace, a company that produces the key components for F-35 fighter jets used by Israel in committing genocide. So on her way out, and this was before she was fully expelled, this was just suspended, she's like, shots fired, she's like, look, I'm putting you on blast too. But it's just so wild. I mean, Taylor, we're also in a moment, we know that actually AI systems have been used to kill people in Gaza.
Yeah.
And kill people who were just presumed supposed Hamas fighters, and actually, in fact, maximize the impact by making sure they killed them when they got home to their apartments. Again, alleged Hamas fighters. So it's just...
They're not even Hamas. The Red Crescent workers, they call Hamas fighters. They call anybody a Hamas. By the way, Hamas, the IDF is a terrorist group, okay? The U.S. military is a terrorist group.
Yep.
We commit more atrocities than Hamas could even imagine. So...
Yes.
It's absurd. All of it.
That's not some, we have tunnels?
Of Hamas. It's just right. It's
we
just
have nukes, but no tunnels.
Stand.
Do you know what a tunnel can do?
God. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, just thinking, I really hope that it, Heli could be taken. She could be, I don't know what her student visa status is. I'm not clear on that. I don't know if you have more information, but it's also really terrifying that Yale is sort of paving the way. Again, these prestigious universities for their students to be targeted.
Doing. Columbia's actively,
that's not that prestigious.
Columbia.
I'm not an Ivy League
state school.
We're I don't know. But yes, obviously people are speaking out, but it's just incredible reporting, and just the fact that as someone who was targeted also by AI smears, it's so fucking easy to figure out whether these are real or not.
If you have basic media literacy, which most people don't.
Yeah, no. Let's move on to this, something a little lighter, because you also actually broke a story, I believe, about Elon's baby mama, Ashley St. Clair. Tell us about that. This is the mother of his latest, or no, second to latest, because I believe his...
No. Siobhan had that child before. She just announced it later.
Oh, okay. So the Neuralink lady, which I don't know how torturing chimpanzees can get you at all in the mood, but apparently it does. Yes, I think is Elon married to Siobhan, or it's just they're just
no
3 kids deep or something like this?
It's his pick me girl.
Her pick me. Yes. Okay. And what was the news around Ashley St. Clair, who is kind of a right-wing influencer? I was on a Piers Morgan panel, and she insisted that we need to defend men, and men are really the, who's looking out for the men. Meanwhile, tell me a little bit about her.
Yeah, she's a conservative influencer, like you said. She wrote a children's book against trans people. I think she was a Turning Point. She was associated with Turning Point at some point, and I think she got dropped by Turning Point for being pictured at this dinner with neo-Nazi type people, or just more extreme people. It's funny. I think something like that now would not get her canceled, but at the time, so she had, she had a relationship with Elon Musk. They have a child together. Elon acknowledged that child in messages to her, and now doesn't want to pay. And so she's selling her Tesla, doing all this stuff.
Let's watch though. This was this week. Ashley St. Clair sent another one of the people who's selling her Tesla, and she explicitly says it's to pay for child support. I mean, who knows, but it's just a wonderful moment.
I'm selling it because I need to make up for the 60% cut that Elon made to our son's child support.
Why do you think that he did that?
That's a great question for him.
You feel like he was sort of like vindictive against you in some way?
Yeah, that's his modus operandi when women speak out.
When was the last time that you spoke to him or tried to speak to him?
February 13th.
But he's just not responding to you at all? And how would you characterize sort of the way that he's going about
you can check the stocks. I am I'm not the only one
We
who's
won't get you
cleaning
on
up authorized messes.
We're not going to get you.
She says,
I love the way that Daily Mail video ends with like the car being totaled.
Yeah. Because there's a guy that was like, I gotta look, I'm with Carvana. It's very good Carvana ad, by the way.
Literally, Spawn. I hope she got paid.
Yeah, for real. So here she is. Now, what's crazy, I think I had said this on the show before, but Taylor, when I debated her on Piers Morgan, which was like actually kind of sad because Piers never directed a question at her, almost like because she's not that smart, you know what I mean? And like, but she was very like, ba, 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 and like kind of in my face. And then at the end, after she said her whole thing about like, we need to reach out more to men, I saw this, like there was a baby and who I presume was her mother looking after this baby. And I was like, oh, what a cutie. And this is November. Oh, so cute. Okay. Yeah. Bye. And then I was like, well, that was the nicest thing about her was this cute little kid. And it was Elon's kid.
Yeah.
I hope
she has two kids, so she has two little ones. Yeah, but she has her son, and then she has two children. Yeah, two children. But only one with Elon.
Now, in response, I just wanted to add this because we didn't bring it up. If you can see this, Elon says, I don't know if the child is mine or not, but I am not against finding out. No court order is needed. Despite not knowing for sure, I've given Ashley $2.5 million and I'm sending her $500,000 a year. Ashley responds, Elon, we asked you to confirm paternity through a test before our child, who you named, was even born. I'm assuming it's just like, whatever, like Dugan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you weren't sending me money. You were sending support for your child that you thought was necessary until you withdrew most of it to maintain control and punish me for disobedience. But you're really only punishing your son. It's ironic your last effort in court was to try to gag me while you use a social media channel you literally own to distribute derogatory messages about me and our child to the entire world. It's about control with you and everyone can see it. America needs you to grow up, you petulant man-child. Now, here's what I want to ask, not to make this segment too long. I absolutely feel for Ashley St. Clair, and I know the people who are probably trolling her and, saying she deserved it, all this stuff. I feel for her, obviously this is the richest man in the world. This guy needs to pay his fucking child support. Holy shit. But again, we're back to this moment, Taylor, where it's like the misogyny is so out in your face that like, and you see the rift just sort of like between young men and young women when it comes to politically, they're so divergent, they're so far apart that you're a little bit like, why are you still fucking with these guys? Like, why are you, and also running cover for their agenda time and time and time again? What if she had a pregnancy complication and needed an emergency DNC? What if that was then called, an abortion and she gets, sent, you know what I'm saying? Like,
totally. Absolutely. I know. I know. This is always the question you have to ask of conservative women, right? Is that they support these men. I think, look, some of them can be very charming, right? And I think also, especially for like white women who are mostly with white conservative men and conservative men generally, it's like they think that by aligning themselves and sort of their adjacency to power and control and supremacy, that is going to protect them. It's the same reason you see, people throwing trans people under the bus, right? Like, it's like,
Right.
oh, well, I'm going to sort of separate myself from those other marginalized groups, and I'm going to align myself, with the right, because that's going to sort of protect me some way. I'm going to seem reasonable. They'll never come for me, right?
Yeah.
You're silly. You're selling yourself out. But no,
I do think it's that proximity to power, but I mean, this is not your grandfather's misogyny, or maybe it is, maybe it's always been this way, but and I don't want to take too long to talk about it, but I am also struck by, this influencer Bree Stern, who had a consensual relationship with alleged sex trafficker Andrew Tate, and
Yes.
influencer, who then filed a police report only this month about how he raped her. And again, with everything with Andrew Tate, it's like he has a girlfriend, it's consensual, and then he crosses lines and nearly kills someone, and you're just like, so again, so you're like, this is actually part of it. I just wish it's almost
we have to acknowledge, like, like, you don't know why people get with people, right? Like, a lot of, like, everyone,
well,
I'm sure,
she needed help on her crypto. That's what she said. She's like, my crypto was dying. He said he would help me with my crypto. I'm not blaming people. I'm just saying, like, what will it take to get women? I think Republican women need to turn on this MAGA movement. But again, it's how I feel about, like, the Liz Cheneys of the world, where I'm like, I don't want you coming over. Like, I'm not going to necessarily break bread with you, or, like, work with you on that, but you have to call in your own fucking people.
Totally, which of course they don't want to do. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just, I guess I empathize with them in the sense that they are still victims, and they, there's a lot of women that also, it's like you get captivated. A lot of them have broken, something is broken sort of inside of them, in the sense that, like, they're emotionally harmed in some way, maybe, or traumatized. A lot of these people are survivors of horrible things. And so they gravitate to these people that, they don't believe that it can happen to them. And it is delusional. And it is, I know you want to shake them and be like, why the hell in 2025 would you date Andrew Tate? But it's not how it starts. And I just think it's important to remember, because I think when we think of men like Tate or Elon, right, they're so repulsive and horrible and evil and misogynist in so many ways, but they are so incredibly charming. These are master manipulators. They don't get to where they are without being masterful manipulators. And so I just think all these people, like, I would never fall for it. Like, you really just, like, they get these people in these vulnerable states that often have trauma. They exploit that trauma. There's a reason why they're so good at manipulating people. There's the level that they're sociopathic, I think, even. So I think just consider that too, because it's so easy to look from the outside.
It's hard to imagine that Elon is at all captivating or charming. I just want to
play. He's a complete, it's because he's ability. I mean, I've talked to so many people sort of in his orbit. He will be whatever the person that the person that he needs to be in that context, he will be. He is very good at reading what somebody wants and being that person in the moment. And that's how he's able to manipulate, I think, a lot of people. So I know I feel the same way too, but
I mean, yeah, here he is. And today we will find out if he successfully is able to buy, the Supreme Court of Wisconsin, where, that Tesla actively has cases before. And that is partly why, in fact, that's really why he's doing this. Because he wants to own dealerships and manufacturing plants in the same state, and fuck antitrust. Here he is.
The federal government, like, shocking, really. It's insane. Yeah, it's really wild. So, like, I mean, it was inevitable that at least a few Soros operatives would be in the audience. Give my regards to George. Say hi to George for me.
I'll say hi to George. And they're the operatives of a billionaire. Anyway, here's $1 million, voter. Yes. Like, the lack of self-awareness. Like, we can see you, right? Like, that's You did? No? Okay. Yes, but I feel you. He's a creature of the internet as well. What will it take before you leave, Taylor, to take someone like Elon down? Is it just Hassan Piker gaming with him in real time?
They want to deplatform. Just to be clear, there is going to be an effort to deplatform Hassan, and I think he should be. I think he is concerned about that. But there is this concerted effort that's happening right now in Congress to attack anti-Semitism and deplatform anti-Semitism. And I know that a lot of streamers are concerned because that is the goal. That is the goal. He has a huge target on his back right now, and the amount of press that he's gotten and attention that he's gotten, he has a target on his back from Democrats and a target on his back from Republicans. So,
can I just ask you? Obviously, now this doesn't feel very free speech to me. That doesn't.
But that's the whole thing, is that they want to dismantle free speech, just like how Make America Healthy Again is about dismantling public health.
And my question is, like, when does it come for Twitter? Because like Twitter ostensibly, like, I mean, yes, I'm assuming everyone is being tracked who is on there, but like, is the only free speech that is allowed or will be allowed going to be like Holocaust denial memes?
Yeah,
but
there's
that,
no free
like,
speech. I asked Travis Brown if there's free speech on Twitter. There's not. He doesn't have a Twitter account anymore because he did journalism that Elon Musk didn't approve of. There's countless activists and journalists that have been.
Or Michael Wolff reporting on Epstein doesn't have a Twitter account anymore because of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's just endless. I have, my account is like heavily restricted on Twitter after I got permabanned and then was forced to be let back on and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, they don't act. Hello, they want to dismantle free speech. These are but that's the one thing that, I mean, this brings me back to my original point about the child influencer laws. The one thing that Democrats and Republicans can agree on is censorship. And this is why they're trying to undo Section 230. They actually both want to undo it for different reasons, but everyone in the government wants to control speech. And that's why we have to stop listening to men like Jonathan Haidt and these grifters that are selling a moral panic about kids and technology, and recognize we must preserve civil liberties on the internet. And that's something that a bunch of leftists don't seem to care about very much.
Before you go, what is Section 230 for those who need a refresher?
Yeah, Section 230 is, I would say, the most important bill. I mean, you have to listen to this. You know what? If you want a good explanation of it, there's an excellent podcast called, I just want to find it, Otherwise Objectionable. It's a wonderful narrative podcast about Section 230, which is the law that basically allows free speech on the internet. It is the law that allows free speech on the internet. If you remove Section 230, basically it transforms all of social media to platforms like Netflix, where you can only get through approved content. It has to be pre-approved because they're liable for it now. They're legally liable for it. So if you care, listen to Otherwise Objectionable. I'm telling you, it's a phenomenal podcast.
I love a good narrative podcast.
And you should listen to it because it really talks about the dangers of this type of tech policy. It's hosted by Mike Masnick, another phenomenal tech journalist who everyone should read Tech Dirt. They exposed like the Heritage Foundation funding for the Kids Online Safety Act and all these other things. But yeah, just we have to fight for our civil liberties online. And it's unfortunately something that I think a lot of people don't fight for because they buy into this fake moral panic about kids.
Indeed. It's it was like that fake moral panic about sex workers also, right? And the anti-sex trafficking bill.
They're the same laws too that are all
exactly. Yes.
Stuff. Yeah.
Taylor Lorenz, what a pleasure. Awesome reporting as always. I was sad when you went solo almost because I was like, it felt like, there's some shine to being at Washington Post
I never even had Washington Post in my bio.
Right. Well, where were you at before then? Was it
the New York Times?
That's what I thought. But you know what? Unleashed, even better. Independent, even better. Since they can't handle the truth.
Only media people even know. I got so much like media coverage. Also, people were like, the real reason she left is because 3 months ago she said Biden's a war criminal. I'm like, I've been saying Biden's a war criminal publicly for a year and a half. What are you even talking about? But also, I mean, I left mainly because my editor left, and I wanted to go independent. I've wanted to go independent for a long time, and I wanted to do it before the election, so I waited until like literally a month before the election. But because I've never had Washington Post in my bio, everyone in social media was like, "What?" Because they just didn't realize I worked there. So I thought that was
I knew.
But
Taylor, you're great. Everyone go to youtube.com/Taylor Lorenz and follow her there. Also listen to the podcast Power User. usermag.co, subscribe, support if you can. Just some of the, again, kind of also not depressing reporting. Not everything is depressing that Taylor puts out, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Later, and thank you all for being here. We have another just stellar journalist, stellar, who has been on the program now. Gosh, is this the third time? Third time, and I'm gonna say something corny, and I feel like a dad. But I'm a mom. She is a writer for In These Times, a labor columnist at Teen Vogue and Fast Company, and many other publications. She recently published her first book, everyone should read, called Fight Like Hell, The Untold History of American Labor. And now, most importantly, for all the little ones and maybe people who learn in simpler language, she's got a young reader's edition of Fight Like Hell called Fight to Win. Please welcome Kim Kelly.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for being here again.
Thanks for having me. So many of these streams are boring as hell. This is great.
Thank you. I appreciate that coming from you. But Kim, oh my gosh. So first of all, tell me about Fight to Win. What's different? Who's it for? Is this a banned book? Immediately.
I keep getting questions and like little jokes about that when I post about it, like, oh, that's not gonna make it to Florida, that's gonna get banned immediately. And part of me is like, haha, you gotta laugh, but also part of me is like, don't jinx me, bro. Like, I want it to get out there a little bit at least. It comes out on May 6th, so I got a month or so before they find me. But it's a different format from Fight Like Hell, because I tried to make Fight Like Hell as accessible as possible for grown-up readers, but kids like 10 to 14, the scariest age of all, I'm like, okay, I gotta spend a little bit more time explaining, breaking stuff down, and making sure it's still engaging and it's still real. But, maybe cut out a couple things. Nobody needs like a 5-page explanation of what the Communist Party was up to in Alabama in 1930. So it focuses more on specific people that I pulled from the book. So people like Ben Fletcher, a Black socialist dock worker who organized an interracial union on the docks in Philly, South Philly specifically, where I live, in like 1910. Or Maria Marino, the first woman farm worker to be hired as a union organizer.
I love that story. That was one of my favorites of the book. It's so good.
Especially how she clashed with Cesar Chavez because he thought she was too mouthy. Like,
yes, totally.
Sounds like a you problem, big dog. But so a lot of people like that. And I snuck in some new people too, because the purpose of the first book was like really focusing on lesser known people. But for this one, I'm going to assume, unless your parent is really on top of their shit, you don't already know about Eugene Debs or Judy Heumann or Joni Christian, an auto worker, a trans woman auto worker in the 90s who transitioned with the support of her union in the Midwest.
Oh my God.
There's just so many stories. And I was like, okay, I had this opportunity, which came out of kind of a bit. Like, I was just tweeting about it one day, like, what if I did a kid's book? And then it kind of snowballed, and then I had homework. So
you're like, fuck. No, but I think that's so important. And especially like having these heroes that are like, no one, these aren't like Cesar Chavez, Rosa Parks, kind of like the classics. But especially in the labor movement, and our labor history is so rich and has been so suppressed deliberately. And so, yes, what ages you recommend? Like, 10 to 14, kind of like
10 to 14. If you have a really precocious 8-year-old, like I would have ate this up, but I was a nerd. So sports, maybe start at 10.
Amazing. Fight to Win comes out in a month. Everyone check it out. Let's talk about just, okay. This is breaking, so I don't, expect you to know like the ins and outs of everything, but we just learned that Trump, via executive order again, is trying to get rid of collective bargaining rights for the entire federal workforce. And so that's massive. And also, how is this not illegal? In fact, the Union of Government Employees immediately sued. The American Federation of Government Employees is suing Trump for this move. Let me just throw this up here. It purports to end collective bargaining at federal unions, including Department of Agriculture, Defense, Health and Human Services, Justice, State and Veterans Affairs, as well as EPA and USAID. It authorizes the Transportation Secretary to exclude the FAA and any other subdivision from labor rights. I mean, and again, he pulled that over last Thursday night. Relying on a rarely used provision of the federal labor law that allows the president to exclude agencies from long-standing unionization rights if he determines that those agencies are primarily engaged in national security work. Like, this feels like some kind of, like, again, everything's like a Red Scare holdover. But, like, everything we're seeing, Kim, until now, it's been like 65 days, is a massive attack on workers, right? And let's just start with federal workers, right? There's a massive attack happening on them and their rights. And now it's like, okay, and for those of you who are not dismissed or forced to resign or, given the, a buyout or whatever, I'm just going to take away your rights to unionize. So for those of us who want to feel safer that our Department of Agriculture workers are being fairly represented or the FAA employees have breaks, are able to rest, safely, do their jobs to keep the rest of us safe, that's going to be potentially, obviously he's being sued, out the window. I mean, how do you sort of understand, like, I mean, I know there's also talking about TSA, the TSA contract, again, speaking of keeping us safe, allegedly, right? Like, I'm, a post 9/11, anti-war organizer, so I'm like, fuck the TSA, but their contract was unilaterally terminated, their bargaining rights were terminated by Donald Trump. Like, I guess maybe just talk about, like, what this kind of fucking setback, this attack on federal workers.
I see it, man. It sucks. It's bullshit. I'm pretty sure it's illegal. Not that matters. But the thing is, I've seen a lot of people, like people who have been around longer than I have, say, like, this is the biggest attack on labor rights, on collective bargaining rights in their living memory. And that's a big deal. Like, this makes Reagan and the PACO strike in 1981 looked like a sort of reasonable guy. And that set the labor movement back decades. And one of the things that is so irksome about this, on top of how cruel and unjust and probably illegal and just generally fucked up it is so much of it is so petty.
Yeah.
He is upset that AFGE and other government unions have been suing him. He's upset they've been fighting back and speaking back. And he is especially upset that a lot of those employees, those workers under the Biden administration, they renegotiated their contracts and got set in stone these longer contracts that ensured their contracts would outlast this Trump administration. So they thought ahead. They wanted to protect workers.
The one area that did, I mean, thank God, like,
Right?
that's actually news to me, because I keep on being like, didn't you see this coming? But that's actually really important to know. They were like, okay, we're going to Trump proof this.
Yeah, so they actually tried, because they knew, like, it is no surprise to anyone with more than two brain cells to rub together that this is going to be an anti-worker administration. This is going to attack workers, poor people, anybody who's not on board with this fascist agenda. And the unions, like, they know, at least the ones that were paying attention, not sucking up to Mark Twain, whatever the fuck, from Oklahoma, they knew that they were going to need to plan. So getting those contracts renegotiated, sent stone before Trump came in, that was smart, that was good. And that made Trump so mad. It seems like he's really going after anything even remotely Biden associated, any kind of holdover, anything that seems like it was a preparedness measure. But this matters so much because these are the employees that generally have really strong protections. These are government workers. These are people that have it pretty good in terms of the government letting them unionize, letting them have their rights. Like, they're strong unions. There's a lot of union members, and they've been getting laid off and cut off at the knees for the past 65 days. And here's the thing, like, these are federal workers. Most of us aren't federal workers. They're going to come for you next. This is a shot across the bow. He just happened to have this convenient legal semi-loophole to pull through. The goal is to crush the labor movement, is to eradicate the labor movement, and really to eradicate so much of work as we know it and replace it with something worse and more exploitative. Just completely erase collective bargaining rights, completely erase anything resembling a fair work week. One thing that came out, I think it was just today or yesterday, one of the many agencies that they're going after, they're dismantling, is one called NIOSH. National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. And that is what it's not the flashiest agency, but it is incredibly important. It's an independent research agency that looks into pandemics, looks into worker safety, specifically really dangerous fields like coal miners and agriculture, firefighters, construction, healthcare workers, and young workers. They're the ones assembling the data and doing the research and creating the science that we need to implement health and safety regulations. When I was reporting on the black lung crisis in Appalachia last year, I was talking to NIOSH because they had all the data. And now the Trump administration is just getting rid of them.
I read that data. I mean, that was critical reporting. If you guys haven't read Kim's reporting on black lung in Appalachia, I mean, it's excellent stuff. And I do remember that, like, okay, wow, we've been tracking this.
Yeah, and now they just gave them the chop. Like the coal miners union just put out a statement today, and they're not necessarily they don't make that many political statements, right? But they put out a release today talking about the Trump administration's war on coal miners, because this is such a critical agency and this agency has offices in Morgantown and Wheeling, West Virginia that do that research where people are struggling with this horrific disease and with mine safety in general. And like, if the Trump administration is lost the coal miners, is cutting off the coal miners, there is nothing on God's green earth that's going to keep them from coming after you next. Sure. And that's what I really want to emphasize. Because like, yeah, okay, federal workers, okay, like they just do something in a building somewhere. You're next, baby. They're coming. This is just the path of least resistance.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess I wanted to ask you, speaking of, you said, anyone with two brain cells together could see that he was going to be pretty anti-worker. I mean, I know people who thought he was going to be pro-worker. I know people who thought he was a populist. I also know people like Sean O'Brien. I don't know him, but I know that he was out there saying, we can work with him. He wants to speak at the RNC, and he did, and some folks thought maybe that was a strategic move. Sean O'Brien, last I heard, was like, let's wait and see how it all shakes down. Wait and see. Look at this. I mean, look at what's happening. I guess I want to ask you politically, as you just mentioned, these coal miners don't really put out political statements or saying Trump's attacking them. How will this shape labor politically, you think?
I am really interested to see what happens there too, right? Because it's only been 65 days. We have been planning, probably should have been planning more in some cases, should have been a little more strategic. The Teamsters thing, talk about fumbling the ball, man. Not like getting a somewhat, not entirely, incredibly virulently anti-labor person to be the labor secretary. That was cool, I guess, but then immediately having every other appointment be the worst possible thing. Like that, it's some real 3D chess there, buddy.
Right.
But it's honestly, I'm curious too, because this is kind of unprecedented. Like labor's been under attack before.
Sure.
Like in many, many, many venues in many, many different ways. But the chaotic approach, the sort of incomprehensible aspects of it, where the actions of this administration are hurting business as well as labor, and so much animated by petty grievance and just things don't make no sense. It's hard to organize around that. And I've been kind of pushing union folks that I'm in touch with, and I've just at a conference at UMass Amherst all about strikes. We're talking about what is going to happen. What are we going to do about this? It can't just be another protest, can't just be another lawsuit. You can't just, post our way to a general strike. But I think that there is really a recognition that, this is whatever thoughts we had that this might work out, we might be able to work with them. I think those are rapidly being disabused. I think it's very clear to working class people that this is not going great. Even the ones that voted for him, even the ones that thought, okay, maybe we can work with this. It's very clear, like firing 700 or taking away union rights, collective bargaining rights from 700,000 workers in one day. That's not a populist move. That's not a worker move. Like Marco Rubio and Josh Hawley and all these jagoffs from Ivy League schools that pretend to cosplay as working class understanders, they're not on our side. You can try and work with them if you want, but you could also, walk off a fucking bridge if you want. You got free will. Either way, you're going to end up drowning in a bunch of bullshit. So I'm glad we have leaders like Sarah Nelson who understand this and who are really making it clear that this is war. This is class war. Like, we
It's
like to
class
say
war.
that we have the t-shirt, but we're beyond a shot across the bow. Like, we gotta get
We're in it.
created. Yeah, we're in it. Like,
And you're reporting, even on the, Amazon union efforts in Bessemer, Alabama, and just looking at the ways that these CEOs, whether it's Bezos, obviously Elon, we know that there's, Elon is a notorious, union breaker, illegally so, and has cases before him under the NLRB over his anti-union efforts as the head of Tesla and SpaceX. I mean, it's like, the bosses know, like, the CEOs know which side they're on. They know which side their bread is buttered. They're throwing down with fascism if it means they can prevent a union drive at their company. And I just wanted to mention, because it's so funny, and Paige brought this to my attention, about how, right now Doge is trying to like defund PBS, for example. And PBS gets, money from the government. Not a lot, but $500 million it gets from the government, which even sounds like a lot. But anyway, Sesame Street Workshop, by the way, which is a nonprofit that's behind the Sesame Street production, 200 employees announced they wanted to form a union, that they are all on board. They're doing it. There's a union drive happening. Then Sesame Street Workshop was like, oh, sorry, we're going to fire a bunch of people. Times are tough. We're firing everybody. And it's just so sick, because it kind of shows you the way that, again, it's not about liberal or Republican or conservative. It is about who are the bosses, and they're using a pretense, whatever it is. If they're using the pretense that we might be losing funding from the government, they are on board with anti-union behavior, and they know that Trump's NLRB probably won't hold them accountable for firing a bunch of people immediately after they announce their unionization efforts. So again, it's just it's even Sesame Street,
right, no one is saving. Not for nothing, the NLRB isn't going to do anything because there's no people there. Gwen Wilcox and I can't remember her name, my bad, but they're the other person. They had that whole thing where he fired to the members because, oh no, they're Democrats, and it made it impossible for the NLRB to have a quorum to do things. Then they got reinstated by a judge. Then they got not reinstated. The NLRB can't do anything. And
I last heard when they were reinstated, so they got unreinstated.
Ping-ponging. They're ping-ponging. And it just mentioning Sesame Street and the myth of the progressive boss. It's even if you work for the nicest, sweetest, cupcake kitten of a boss in the world, when it comes down to it, if it's them versus you, if they're going to keep their job versus you keeping their job, welcome to the unemployment line, baby. There's no such thing as a good boss. There's a boss that you can organize against and intimidate and get to sign a union contract. That's a useful boss. But it really is disappointing to see these institutions and nonprofits and companies that have kind of a kinder, gentler, fuzzier edge, taking advantage of this moment to say, oh, okay, our workers do something we don't really like. They're going to cost us money because we're going to have to pay them better, give them better benefits. Well, our funds getting pulled anyway, may as well get out ahead of this thing and make sure that our jobs are safe. Sure, 200 people's livelihoods are destroyed, and it will bring down the quality of the production and the show and set a terrible precedent. But I mean, I got bills to pay too. So there you go. It's have we seen union busting campaigns at everything from lefty podcast media shows to your favorite public defender.
It's true though. It is very it is true. Kim Kelly, thank you so much. Where can people pre-order your book?
Yes, I always say to look for your local union bookstore if you don't have one yet. Help them unionize. But you can find it kind of everywhere books are sold. Fuck Amazon. I like Bookshop. The ILWU, which represents workers at Powell's. If you order from their link online, it contributes a little bit to their strike fund. So that's the best one. But so yeah, get it from someone cool and share it with people. And it comes out May 6th. If you want me to come to your library or your classroom, hit me up. I'm extremely online. I am very nice, even though I have neck tattoos.
I know you gotta go, but I just want to. What do you think? General strike possible, not possible by 2028?
Man, I've been chewing on this so much. 2028, I think that is I know it's not as cool. I do like that plan. It's a smart plan. It's a practical plan.
Sure.
And I think it is a workable plan. It's also 2025. We got all this energy. We got so many people that want to do something. I know April 5th, there's a lot of big protests happening. I know May 1st, at least in Philly, and I'm sure in other places, there's another big demonstration happening. I think we need to think beyond protests. I think we do need to get a little bit more creative. I don't think that some of the online sort of Instagram-based general strike organizing things are really, I mean, bless their hearts, as they say in the South, but there's a lot of thinking and logistics and coalition building you need to actually build the conditions for a general strike that works, that includes people. And I gotta mention, just to be no fun Nancy, like, if you are not unionized and you go on strike, you're not going on strike. That's an unexcused absence. You got nothing. So if you're thinking about organizing a general strike, if you want to use the strike language, words mean things. And as much as this country is a fascist hellhole with no cool laws, we have a couple labor laws left. And the ones that protect union members who go on strike, who engage in protected concerted activity, we still got a couple. So let's use them, because if we're all unemployed, it's going to be a whole lot harder to beat back the bosses. So let's research, mama. That's all I got to say.
I love it. Kim Kelly, you're the best. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for making time. Appreciate you as always. That's an unexcused absence. I love that. See, this is why, obviously, before, as Taylor said, I do think they will be coming for streamers. Real talk. I think they will be coming for YouTube creators. As someone who openly criticizes Israel, is an anti-Zionist, is my household runs on anti-Zionism. I don't think I'm an exception. So look, when you become a patron, which maybe we'll have to move to Patreon only, maybe. I mean, look, as platforms fall in line with this, authoritarianism and their actual clampdowns on real free speech, we're going to have to truly look at other places. I am on Blue Sky. Bituation Room is on Blue Sky. I'm waiting for the blue sky of Instagram to come out, but it's wild how entrenched Instagram is simply as a communications mechanism. As a stand-up comic, we communicate through Instagram. As a, if you're an organizer, that often happens through Instagram, but who knows what is going to be thrown open to the whims and wiles of someone like Marco Rubio. Before we close and I read some comments, I also wanted to mention, and I didn't say this, but I think it's really important to know that the 1952, act that Marco Rubio is using to summarily, rescind the student visas of, hundreds and hundreds of people, that was initially used to vet specifically Jewish immigrants who were said to be communists. So it is a hell of a thing when students who are mostly Black and brown, who are Muslim, who are from, again, the Middle East or from Africa, from Latin America, when they are being targeted, when just a few decades ago, it was Jewish immigrants who were coming to this country. And they're being targeted, right, on alleged allegations of anti-Semitism. And before it was Jewish immigrants on allegations of communism, right? Look, the struggle is the same. It is Israel that is the odd man out here. But progressive leftist Jews, anti-Zionist Jews, even just Jews of conscience, they know what's up. They understand this. They understand how the very framework that was established to make sure that never again meant never again for anyone is being obliterated and skirted by a country that pretends to be a country for Jews and by Jews, right? And that is obviously Israel. So don't let that irony be lost on you. And if you can, if any liberal Zionist needed one more piece of evidence to the fact that this is not about Judaism, this is not about anti-Semitism, this is just about free speech around Israel, there you have it once again. a few comments from our awesome people, and then probably one of the longest fart songs in the world. Grumpy Dragon, thank you for your really generous super chat. I absolutely love your energy. It gives me in these dark days. Keep on keeping on. You rock. No, you, Grumpy Dragon. Diego Hernandez, thank you for your super sticker. And Chaplain Fred says, hello, Miss Fiorentini. I too made the switch from TYT. Glad I made the change. Please do your thing. You have my support. Rather hear your rants that make sense. Hey, thank you so much, Chaplain Fred, for the generosity and your kind words. Snack Panther, hello, friend. You're the hardest working progressive on Beyonce's internet. If they were only Beyonce's, she would win every award. Samantha Wiley, many congratulations on all the new members and subs. We got your back. Left is best, indeed. And if you guys aren't watching Majority Report, I'm a big fan. They do stream every day, and I think their reporting is incredibly honest and very progressive and wonderful. So very shout out to them as well. No, I'm going to shout these out during the fart song. Snack Panther, Fran sold the April Fool's joke. Almost had me for a second, except Jank ain't apologizing for nothing. I know, that was the giveaway, right? Linda Martin is in. Become a member if you don't want to miss a single moment of the best stream around. We need some hope in these times. Yes, I'm going to hopefully keep it fun tomorrow. We will see. Donald James, here's to 193,000 subs into another 16 months. Cheers. Thank you for being a member for so long. Jen Hack, thank you. Benjamin Morrill, my brother-in-law OD'd and died. Cops investigated taking his phone. Cops lost his phone. Sent my wife a sorry piss off letter. Defund these fascists. I'm so sorry. I wish that were an outlier case, but it must hurt all the more. The negligence, right? Progressive Boomer. Hey, Frantifa, please support Francesca. Like her and share and get her content out. Thank you so much. Get Dad says 510 Bay Area E40 learn. I love an E40 shout out. Christo Stefan, grateful for all the Frantiva community and you all, especially our Todd Roy and most best loved High Plains homie Paige. Thank God for every day. Thank you, Todd, for being a mod, as well as Zane the Magic Puffer Dragon is now a mod. Zane, I hope you didn't just figure that out. Oh, no, thank you. New viewer over here. Keep it up. No, you keep it up. Jody Odell, just because it's Fran. Thank you. Vitingale. Congrats on your break from TYT. Thank you for being one of the only dissenting folks among contributors there. Hashtag TYT mods quit. Yes. And happy belated Trans Day of Visibility. Live your truth. Be who you are. We love you and support you, and we will fight for your rights. Moon Dragon, happy moon anniversary. Okay, you got me with a jank apology. I really should have known better. April 1st or not. Oddly magical Brandy, all conservative positions rely on the person believing they're exempt from the kind of treatment they condone. Yes. And everyone should tune in to America Unhinged on Zeteo Tuesdays and Thursdays, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. But Wajahat sort of agrees, the people who kind of came around and were like, oh no, now Trump's policies are hurting me. It's like, yeah, but you were cool when they were hurting other people, right? And it gave me pause, honestly, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. Look, we don't know. I don't know if we welcome you into the fold because you were all fine and dandy as long as it was other people who were being targeted. But now that it's your dime, now that it's your community, now you're like, oh, I hate this administration. Yeah. Boston Brian, congratulations again on your freedom and newfound success. Thank you for the like on Insta. Love to chat. Rachel Atwood, hey Frantifa, who's going to their local hands-off rally on April 5th? I'm headed to Boston. I'm headed to Los Angeles. In fact, I'm going to be speaking at our rally for a whole 5 minutes, guys. So if you're here, catch me there. Robert, fascist regimes co-opt the administrative state and bully the political establishment. Elon Trump is bullying the administrative state and has co-opted the political establishment. That is why they are going to lose. I hope so. Chi-Chi Massey, that was a good April Fool's. You got me. You need to start your acting career now. I got you. Vitros Varna, both guests today have been awesome. Yeah, I know. I told you. Nothing, spared no expense for Paige's birthday. Thank you, Apex. If it's up, it's up. I love Cardi. Thank you, Maxwell and Just Julie for the super stickers. Isaac, nice earrings. I don't have, my headphones. I guess they are. You guys, okay, tuck in, y'all. Tuck in for the fart song. It is long, but this is what you paid for. And this is me appreciating you. Thank you so much to all the patrons at $10 or more. I'm working on a cool graphic. I'm working on something, but for now, we're going to do Fart Song. He went. William Rudolph, to Cesar Piedra, to Clyde, to Andy, to Martin Smith, to Nick Hoffenstoffer III, to Carlexa Fevry, Zombie Skincare. I love that. Zach Cody, Amy Soprich, Nelly T, Anthony Giacoloni, Lara G, Truth Shout, Alley Cat Girl, BC Trumpet, HJK, Brian Hughes, Jonathan Cole, Brian. Oh, another Brian Hughes? There's two of you, my friend. Blurgard, Scotch, Luis Oliveira. Thank you so much for upgrading on Patreon. Ramiro Tempest, Mike Willis, John Crump, Steve, Jeff, Chris Otto, Spiderweb Comrade, Danny C, James Geyer, Mercurius, Patrick Vid, Made by Wombat, Joe Napoli, Keith Dental, Tracy Ava, and Lonnie. Thank you so much. Thanks to the members on YouTube. Onyx, Green Goat, Olaf's Highland, Bob Dylan. Really? Bob? Corey Archibald. I'm usually better at this. Nursey Missy J. G. Johan Dahlstrom, Jeffrey Dorchin, Vygotsky 17, Phil Dicey, Andrew D'Angelo, El Topo Dog, Not Anymore, James Hakuman the Black, Laura Cleary, Randall Hamilton, Lucius Gibbons, Jen Hack, Hal Barber, Biddy Woo, Paul Wilmarth. I'm gonna keep going up. Maloney, the Mask Fokker. What? Olaf Finkbeiner, Naomi Penelope McCarthy, Omega Star gave 5 subs. Gobble those up. Thank you so much. Sarah Ford Osmond also gifted a sub. Tanya gifted a sub. Thank you so much. Unbiased Critic Lowell gifted 10 subs. Woo! I need a soundboard. Benjamin Morrill, thank you for gifting a sub. Donald James added with 5 subs. Progressive Boomer added with 5 subs. Dark Brandon, welcome. Mass Fokker, again, so generous. Terry Poole, new member. And don't you think I forgot about Twitch? Not today. Imitation Asian, thank you for resubscribing. 19 months trunks. Chatty Girl, thank you. Not a lot of actually people over on Twitch. That's okay. We love you anyways. And we love our new Substack subscribers. Substack, frannyfio.substack.com. BC Trumpet, thank you for supporting me in multiple places. Pascuantonio, muchísimas gracias. And muchísimas gracias to Paige Omek, our producer. Happy birthday to Brent Godin, the guy who is behind the scenes on the YouTubes, and Andy Vasoyan, who you saw not so long ago, who is our editor. Let me just tell you really quickly, your money goes to these people. Your money helps me, help them, help us, our tiny little team. It is to compensate these folks for their awesome work. It's to hope to grow their work. It's to do the same. We're streaming 3 days a week. Maybe that could be 5 one day, but 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And remember, follow us on all the things at Bituation Room, Bituation Pod. I'm at Franny Fio. And remember to fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, free Palestine, and don't just bitch about it, be about it. Bye.